Top of the morning, everyone. My name is Tshidi and I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be a bit different. As promised, I'm working on a couple of videos that will help so many people out there that are looking for opportunities. Today's video is top 10 job interviews that nobody speaks about. So these are some of the tips that you would normally learn from having gone through quite a number of interviews or having interviewed so many people. And I thought today it might be nice to just go through some of these things that nobody really speaks about, but they're there. They're very, very important, and it's always nice to at least know what to avoid and what not to do and when to do what at different times. So that's why I decided that today it's going to be about that, to say these are the top 10 interview tips that nobody ever speaks about. I used to speak to a friend of mine about these things that we said, you know, it's not written down. It's not out there written down that just says, please do not do these things or watch out for this or these are some of the mistakes that you could make. But I thought, let's tackle some of these things. So there's 10 of them. If there are a few more that you guys know about, please do share, because like I said, this space is more for sharing and educating as many people as humanly possible. And it's always out there to just share free information with everybody that's out there. Number one, always confirm the address before traveling to your job interview. As for some of you guys that might have watched my other videos, or if you haven't yet watched it, there's a video where I speak about some of the top 5 mistakes that I've made when it came to jobs that I was looking for. But it's very, very important that you always make sure that you confirm the destination or the location, because you'll find that there's certain companies that have got more than one office in the same city. So never ever make an assumption that it's one area when it's not the other side. Still on the same thing, always make sure that if it's a virtual interview, guys, you always test your access to whatever system they've given you. If it's a Zoom meeting, make sure that you've got the latest Zoom. If you've got a Microsoft Teams, make sure that your Microsoft Teams does work. You've got access to some of these things. And lately, things like Microsoft, they do allow you to actually download just a normal Microsoft as a normal human being without having to worry about some of these hectic, expensive licenses. And it's also very, very important to look at things like Skype. Do you have access to Skype? Is it blocked in your computer that you've got? So just test these things just before the interview, because there's nothing worse than 5 minutes before the interview and you start panicking because the Skype doesn't work, Microsoft doesn't work, or you've actually landed in the wrong office building. So that's one of the things that I always need to say. Be very, very careful when it comes to some of these things, because too many people forget that you need to confirm some of these things before you go anywhere. The second thing is, if it's a virtual interview, always make sure that your computer, your phone are fully charged before the interview starts. The mistake that we sometimes make is we always think, oh, okay, no, everything is fine. So I've got strong internet, I've got this, I've got that. And you forget that you need to actually check some of these things. Check if your phone works. Check if you've got the right signal. Check if your laptop is fully charged. And if you're anywhere near where you can actually still keep it charged or leave it charged, please keep it plugged in, because you've seen that quite a lot of these video interviews take a lot of juice from your laptop. So it's always nice that you make sure that you actually test these things. You check the speed of your internet to just allow yourself space to be able to be in the best position humanly possible to get that opportunity. Never ever take these things for granted, because there are times where we think, okay, my laptop is always fine, it's got a strong enough battery, and then 5 minutes before the interview you find that you're left with 5%. That's not going to take you anywhere, because you know these systems normally take quite a lot of the juice or quite a lot of battery power that you require for you to be able to do the work. The third thing is, when it's a face-to-face interview, and they offer you water, always take that bottle of water or always take that glass of water. And then if you are actually at home, always make sure that before the interview, you get yourself a glass of water. It sits next to you. For some strange reason, for some very, very strange reason, you'll find that during interviews, either your throat gets dry, something weird always happens in interviews. So if anybody ever offers you that water to say, hey, would you like a glass of water? Please do take it. If it's one of those where it's a sparkling or still, my advice is always simple. Just always take still water, even if you enjoy the taste of sparkling water, because you never know. Somebody could have come running, or they might have shaken the sparkling water and something happens. You open it, it spills all over the table, and then there's a bit of a mess, and that takes you out of your, your zone. So it's just take that water. It helps you quite a lot. The other reason why I always advise people to take a glass of water or whatever is when you get that very difficult question that you probably were not fully prepared for, and you still have to think about your answer. It's beautiful when you can just take a sip of water to buy yourself time. All you have to do is just buy yourself 5 or 6 seconds to think about the answer and how you're going to answer that, because that will literally make the difference between you fumbling through an answer and you actually being able to take a sip, think about the question, and then answer the question, not just that awkward silence where you don't know what to say. The fourth one is arriving too early or too late for an interview. As you know, if you arrive too late for the interview, already your panel is not impressed with you because they're already thinking that you don't take them seriously. But arriving too early can also be a bit more stressful, because in some cases you'll find that when you arrive too early, there's a few people that are walking past. It's just a bit of a stressful environment. You're looking at everybody else. You're wondering if you've prepped enough, if you had if you've prepped enough, and if you had an opportunity to actually go through some of the questions that they might have had. And also the other thing about arriving too early is that with companies where there's not enough things to do at the reception, you literally just sit there, and it takes away your time from being able to go through some of the things that you might have had. If you came driving, I always advise just sit in the car for a few minutes, arrive at least 15 minutes before. Make sure that you actually take time to walk to the toilet if you need the toilet, because there's nothing worse than needing the toilet in the middle of the interview. Walk to the toilet, make sure that your tie is proper and you're fully ready for that interview, so that when the time comes for you to get into that interview, you're fully ready for that. And then you can also take your water, take a sip of the water, make sure that you've got some water before the interview starts. So that's why we always say at least arrive 15 minutes earlier, because it allows you to be able to sort of be prepared for just about anything that might come your way. In case they might also ask you, where we need to interview is going to take us another 5 minutes, we need to actually take a walk. How about if you walk with us? That's very important. As you can see, now I need water. And this is one of the reasons why every time you go through an interview, there has to always be a glass of water next to you. The fifth thing, it is actually okay to say, I do not know. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they tend to think that every question that's been asked in an interview requires you to have an answer for. Now, not all the questions that you're being asked need an answer. There are times when you actually don't know yourself, or you haven't worked with that system, or you haven't worked with that tool. It is okay to say, listen, I don't know about that tool, or no, I haven't worked with that before. I'm sure, but if I was given a bit of time, I'll do a bit of research, speak to a few people that have already worked with the system, and be able to actually come back to you. But in the meantime, I don't know exactly what the system does. And now that you've actually explained a bit about it, I'm very curious to know a bit more about this particular system. It is okay to not know some of the answers to some of the questions. Do not always force yourself to knowing everything, because you end up looking like you will say just about anything to give an answer. And in most cases, honesty is always the best answer when it comes to any interview that you're actually going through. So please do not claim you know something that you don't know, and then you hit through the bush when other people are expecting you to go through the other side. So it's okay to say, listen, sorry, I don't know about that. I've never worked with it. And honesty is always the best policy. Now, if you guys are still watching here, please know that I've also got a video. You can check it on the link up here, where the video is how to break or how to prepare for second round interviews, or how to prepare for final round interviews. This video will guide you guys through some of the things that you need to worry about, the different preps that you need to go through. So please, by all means, if you have been up to here, don't forget to also subscribe. Click a like on that video, because it will also push it to other people that are looking for opportunities or jobs, or even interview preps like this one. The sixth thing that you need to worry about is say no to tea or coffee or anything hot. And I know some of the people are like, but if somebody offers me tea or coffee, should I say no? The answer is yes. Say no for just simple basic reasons. As I mentioned, things do happen all the time. Like you find that You normally enjoy your tea. You never spill it on yourself. You never bend your tongue. You never do anything that could go completely wrong in an interview or anywhere else in your own spare time. But on the day of the interview, somebody offers you a glass of, a hot coffee or milk, hot milk, or whatever they might offer you. Somebody offers you something hot. And on that day is the day that you actually bend your tongue. Just that day, you bend your tongue. And guess what? For the time being, the first 10-15 minutes after you've burnt your tongue, you can still feel the burn. You're already thinking that you look like you're not very smart. You start literally questioning every single thing at the back of your mind. And guess what happens? It takes you out of that interview. So it is okay to just say, sorry, I'd like rather a glass of water. Do not take these hot beverages. The other thing that normally happens with these things is somebody offers you coffee and you're like, oh, of course, I'll drink the coffee. What then happens is that you get the coffee, it's right in front of you. There's questions coming left, right, and center. You never have an opportunity to actually even take a sip of that coffee. Somebody had to take time to go make the coffee. Now, the interview finishes like, any questions? You've got no other questions and you're like, thank you very much. What do you do? Do you now sip through the coffee or do you just give up and leave it like that? Fully, nobody touched it and it's just there. Why did you take the coffee in the first place? Or the other thing that could happen is you say, okay, cool, I would definitely like the coffee. They give you the coffee. Then what happens is that you spill that beautiful black coffee on your tie or on your beautiful white shirt that you actually ironed the night before. And also, once again, throughout the whole interview, you're thinking about that stain that's sitting on your tie. You're always wondering if they can see it. Is it clean enough? What's happened? So if somebody offers you coffee, it's okay to walk away and say, listen, I'd rather have a glass of water, because an interview is the one time where people are asking you so many different questions and you need to be as prepared as humanly possible. Now, the seventh thing is never ever dress casual for an interview. It doesn't matter whether it's actually an internal interview that's going through. It doesn't matter what the interview is about. Never ever dress casual for a few basic reasons. Number one is normally when you dress casual, every your language starts getting casual. Because also sometimes start seeing, oh, nice Nike. Oh, where did you buy that? Yes, it's an icebreaker, but it's one of those things where you actually want the attention to be on what you're capable of doing and what you're actually bringing to the table. So never ever dress casual, even if it's an internal interview, because an internal interview should also be taken as seriously, because sometimes remember that you're competing with external people that have also been put in the whole conversation. So never dress casual. It just says you're not serious about what you're looking for. The only time you ever dress casual is if you know that company instinctively states that you need to, it's okay to come and dress casual. But also when you dress casual, do not look like you're about to go play soccer. It's okay to wear your chinos or some of your jeans and a formal shirt, just to make sure that at least you still look presentable for that particular interview. Never ever dress too casual. And then we go to number 8. Check out your panel on your LinkedIn. Go visit them. Visit their LinkedIn page. See what they do. The best thing about checking out what the panel has done in the past is that you can also use that as an icebreaker in any conversation that you might have. It allows you to be able to ask them questions. It allows you to be able to say to them, oh, I see you work for company X. I was there 2 years ago. How did you find it? No, it was fine. Oh, okay. Which department? No, I was in this department. It was actually quite interesting. So checking out your panel on the LinkedIn is one of the simplest things that you can ever do. And it buys you just enough information about who's about to interview you, what kind of questions they might probably come and ask you. Because if you are being interviewed by an architect and you're an IT person or a developer, versus if you're being interviewed sometimes by HR, you'll find that with an architect, there's going to be expectations to speak about some of the technical things that you have done. With HR, they might also just be looking at the culture thing to understand. So there's nothing wrong with actually checking out these people on LinkedIn. But please do not go out there and start adding people on LinkedIn before you've gone through the interview process. Because it's one of those things where people look at you and say, but why is he already adding me? It's not like, so just be very careful that you don't jump the gun and already start adding people into your LinkedIn before you even go for the interview. Number 9, it is okay to follow up with the interviews. It is okay to follow up with the job interview to find out how the interview went. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we all make as recruiters. We sometimes don't give you timeless feedback on time, and sometimes we don't even speak about to say, oh, this is what the feedback was. It is okay. It is okay to say, hey, Tshidi, listen, I was interviewed by your team a week ago or 3 days ago. Now, what I want to understand is, how did the interview go? Is there any other steps I need to worry about? Is there something I need to prep for? It's okay to ask those questions, especially if one of the questions that you asked in the interview was to say, what should I expect next? What's next in the next process? What are the processes going to look like? And somebody says to you, oh yeah, we will probably get back to you in the next week. After week 1, you let that week pass, and then week 2, you always follow up to say, hey, listen, I just wanted to follow up to see if I'm still in the running. Is this still happening? What's happening? It's okay to ask, because as much as we would all like as recruiters to give you feedback timelessly, unfortunately, sometimes quite a lot of things are happening. We've got 50 other interviews that are happening, and then we just don't get to that stage where we give you feedback on time. And there is no other recruiter out there in the world that doesn't want to give you feedback. Please note that. There's no recruiters out there that doesn't want to give you feedback. All recruiters would like to do that, but sometimes things do happen, and unfortunately they don't do that. The final, number 10, is for virtual interview, the best lighting you can ever get is next to the window. Just take your laptop, put it against the window, and make sure that the light from outside hits your face. Now, what people tend to do is they tend to make sure that the camera, or the light or the window is behind them. If the window is behind you, the light from the window brights up the whole space so much that the camera ends up darkening your face. So it is then very, very important that if you're going to go for an interview, you make sure that you take your laptop, put it next to the window, make sure that the light from the outside actually hits your face. You will get the best lighting you'll ever get. This is something that we do a lot as photographers. As some of you guys might know, I'm a photographer and I do photography in my spare time. But it is beautiful to make sure that you use the natural light that you get from the outside to be able to prepare for those interviews. Because if you bring in some of these lights, you find that the lights end up just dying out before the interview even starts. So sit, put your laptop in front of the next to the window, let the window light come from the outside and hit your face, and you'll get the best lighting you'll ever get. Finally, guys, that is the last number 10 top 10 interviews that nobody speaks about. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to click on another video that I've done with Nombu and Kia, which we went through a mock interview process. We do a mock interview to interview one of the ladies. We interview Kia and go through the whole interview process. So just sometimes it's nice when people see how it actually is done, because in some cases I can speak about some of these things, but if you don't see it in practice, it becomes very difficult. So if you want to see one of those videos, please don't forget to click up here and make sure that you actually check it out. Once again, top of the morning. Thank you so much for watching throughout this whole video. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.